Hey y'all, hope you're doing good today. So I told you that I would share a little bit of these cards that I bought. And the first one that I pulled, I just like to kind of surprise myself, is this one. And I looked up how to pronounce it, right? But it's in call. Some people say in call. It's E-N and then C-A-U-L, which basically means it stands for when a child is born while still in the amniotic sac. So it's very unique, and I believe I read that it's very rare, as in one per every 80,000 births. So it's really special. And so, what's cool about when you buy these little art cards is they can serve as just a point of interest or a new area of focus that you can just take and run with, like a starting point to a journey, if you just like to learn, if you're into that. And I've always been that way. I've always liked to learn. Learning is a hobby for me. So, but in the book here, the other way to pronounce it, by the way, besides in call, you can say on coal. On coal is another way to say that. But the card says healer, seer, and then a priest or a priestess and sole purpose. So let's read a little bit about this. And I just love when they include a little book. So it says the folklore of many different places, including Iceland, France, Holland, Albania, England, and Germany, has tales about a rare event called an in-call or veiled birth. This occurs when the mother goes into labor, but her waters fail to break, and the baby appears in this world still inside the amniotic sac in which it gestated. According to tradition, children born in call have second sight and gifts of healing. In Scotland, they were seen as good omens, and fishermen sought out birth call, or the amniotic sac, as an amulet to protect them from drowning. In ancient Egypt, they were believed to be the future priests, priestesses, and priestesses, I'm not sure the difference there, of the community. This is the card of the healer, the seer, the wisdom keeper, and the mystic. Perhaps you're already on this path, or perhaps it is something new for you. The healer, the shaman, the medicine person knows that it's through facing their own shadow and taking their own deep journey, or deep healing journey, that they can return to guide others in their healing. The healer is, like all of us, in their own spiral of transformation and healing. Healed is not a stagnant state. The healer knows that they're not meant to be perfect and whole all the time. Instead, it's because they've journeyed to the deepest, darkest, uncharted oceanic caves and returned with an open heart and mind that they're able to hold space for another. This card is an acknowledgement of your role in the world and the deep work you've done or you've been doing on your own healing journey. And then there's a question for like a journaling prompt or whatever. It says soul inquiry. How can you answer the call of your soul in the fullest expression today? So I like that, little prompts like this. Again, they could just be a starting point to journal. If you just want to have something to bring to your time when you are spending time with God, you're researching just various things. And so that's what I've done. And I'm going to share with you just some little breadcrumbs that hopefully will come together in a meaningful message for you. So I hope you enjoy the message. So I started off by looking into water, and I went way down that route, and I thought I couldn't really make connections. And then I went back to the concept of the seer. And so what I'm pulling from next is this book, which I love. And the second part of it is the Vine's Concise Dictionary of the Bible. Okay, so that's the part I'm going to be reading from. So in looking up the word see and seeing, in the Old Testament, it says, and I'm just going to read part of it. I'm not going to read all of it. But there's a word Ra'ah, R-A apostrophe A-H. And this is probably the Strong's number reference 7200, okay, if you're just taking notes. But to see, right, Ra'ah, it says a verb, to see, observe, perceive, get acquainted with, gain understanding, examine, look after, as in C2, choose, and discover. And then it says basically Ra'ah connotes seeing with one's eyes. And then the second primary meaning is to perceive or to be consciously aware of. And then it expands on that, obviously. So, and it gives examples too. It's talking about Hagar and different verses here. And I'll drop some of these in the description for you all if you just have interest in going further. But this really is a cool book. And then as a noun, you have ro'eh, R-O apostrophe E-H, which is a seer or vision. And it says it occurs 11 times and refers to a prophet, emphasizing the means by which revelation was received. And it says 1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 9, and to vision, which is in Isaiah 28:7. And then, of course, there's Mar'ah, M-A-R apostrophe A-H, which means visionary appearance or a prophetic vision. And then it says Genesis 46:2 and looking glasses, which is in reference to Exodus 38:8. So I love word study. I love it because it's kind of like going down just a new path of learning, call it a rabbit hole, whatever you want to call it, however you want to see it, but it gives your mind something to kind of chew on besides, stressful things in life, right? So, but that's the superstition that I read to you all from this book, that children that are born like that are destined to be seers, right? And so what's interesting is, let's take a look at the word water before I go further. And this is also in the Vine's Concise Dictionary, okay? So water, there's a whole lot to this. I mean, it even talks about, there's different words. And so one is Tehom, T-E-H-O-M, meaning deep water, ocean, water table, waters, a flood of waters, and it just expands on that. It's really interesting to read in reference to the Bible, okay? And then, but that's not the part I'm going to focus on. I'm going to focus on the word mayim, which is also underwater, and this is M-A-Y-I-M, and this is just water or flood. And then skipping down a little bit, it says this word is used figuratively in many senses. Mayhem, and I think of mayhem, and you'll see why. It says mayhem symbolizes danger or distress. And then it says he sent from above, he took me, he drew me out of many waters. And that's 2 Samuel 22:17. And then there's the symbolism of an outbursting force. And it says this word is used to picture something violent, overwhelming. And then in other passages, water is used to represent timidity. And this is Josh 7:5. So it can also mean transitory, and that's going to be relevant to our message today too. So yes, I was thinking about swimming because I love to swim. I'm not an expert by any means. I've never even had official lessons, but I just do it in my own way. And I love it. And I love to swim in the ocean in particular. And so when I was pulling a card from, I actually don't remember if this is from the Moonflower deck or the Wildflower deck. I think it's from this one, How to Be a Wildflower deck. But this is the one that I pulled. Go for a night swim. And isn't it beautiful? And this is, again, by the artist Katie Daisy, but she's got the moon here, kind of a bluish color. I don't know if those are mountains or clouds. And, of course, a lake or an ocean and some beautiful plants. So I truly love her work. If you like this kind of stuff, it's worth it. These are not very expensive in comparison to a lot of collectible art anyway, right? But on the back, this is all kind of light and airy, just kind of gives you like a positive vibe, right? And then you flip it. And while this art is beautiful, it's perfect for the message, right? Go for a night swim. It's kind of like, this might be what we're thinking of, but when you actually literally go and do this in the 3D physical world, this is what you're met with. So like, I would never get in the ocean at night, but it's just beautiful, right? But you can see the, what's the word, like tumultuous nature of the ocean. And I love how this is true, because in looking at what water represents, right, in the Bible, and it can represent, good things too. Looking further in the Vine's dictionary on water, it talks about how it represents blessings, right? And of course, you can think of baptism and all that. So it's multifaceted for sure, a whole spectrum of different meanings. But we're focusing on this one aspect today, right, for a message. So anyway, water in itself can represent danger and distress, okay? And what I immediately brought to mind, I didn't bring it to mind, what came to my mind rather, when I was thinking of, okay, water itself can symbolize distress and danger, I was thinking of Jesus walking on water. Like he conquers that. Not only did he conquer it, but he continues to conquer it, which is why it's said in the Bible that, the battle is won. It's done. It is done. And so, anyway, but in our life experience, we go through these dark times. We do swim in the middle of danger and distress. Sometimes we just find ourselves, because of the wolves in sheep's clothing and all kind of different reasons, we find ourselves swimming at night. And we're in the dark because, again, darkness represents not knowing, not being consciously aware, okay? And that's where, God's protection is keeping us afloat, literally. But, so let me share with you all right here. This is in Matthew chapter 10, okay? And it's a whole section, sheep among wolves, okay? And this starts at Matthew chapter 10, verse 16. But what I want to focus on is towards the end here, at verse 26. It says, "Fear them not." Okay? Fear them not. And that's what Jesus calls us to do, is to not be afraid. Okay? And that's faith. That's faith. And it's surrender, because logic can tell us that, I can't walk on water, but as far as miracles go, Jesus said, all this you can do and even more. And that's just mind-blowing, isn't it? But it requires faith. And so we are called to not fear, okay? And so what is it? There's no fear in perfect love, okay? And so it says, "Therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known." Okay? It seems that way, but this is all God's perfect timing and His way, right? And then the next part is the one I want to focus on. It says, "What I tell you in darkness, what I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light. And what ye hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops." So that's just it. Sometimes we think that we're walking in the light. And there's another verse actually that I just randomly came across today that I wish I had saved to share with you all. If I can find it, I'll drop it in the description because it talks about this. It's Jesus. I forget who he's speaking to, but he's talking about walking in light versus darkness, meaning being conscious and aware, right? And the faith walk as well, which is a big part of that. But a lot of times in life, we think truly that we are walking in light, but we're actually under the cloak of darkness. We're in darkness, but we don't realize it. And so I think that's why sometimes God kicks us up. Remember, wind is related to breath. I think the word is pneuma, but it's Pneu, right? Something like that. Ma. Pneuma. But the breath of life, right? It's God. It's the force, right? Which he can manifest in any way he pleases. But I think he kicks up the waters sometimes so that we can see, because think about it. Sometimes when you're underwater swimming, you can get disoriented. You kind of don't know what's up, you don't know what's down, what's east, what's west, and it takes you a minute to get oriented. Well, add to that darkness. Okay, because at least when you're underwater, have y'all ever swim underwater and you look up? I love it. I love to look up and see the top surface of the water and how, it's moving, and, how that kind of plays with the light, above the surface, and it's just really cool to look at. Reminds me of stars, really, if you zoom in, and that's something I really want to get into. I invest a little bit of time here and there, but it's not near enough. But hopefully I can get into that one of these days. And I know the equipment can get expensive to really get a good look at the heavens, right? But I love it. But sometimes the stars, they can appear to be flashing, or it kind of looks like, there's light where there's like almost that same surface look of water moving over the stars. Really cool, just magical and fascinating. But I love to swim underwater and to look up. So anyway, that's all fine and good when the sun's out. But when it's dark, you can't see. You can't see. And so sometimes, again, I think this has to kick up so that we become conscious of the fact that we have been swimming at night. We have been in the darkness, right? Excuse me, y'all. Hang on. So, back to this card here, okay? In call or on coal. And the superstition. I think sometimes superstitions are, logically, common sense tells you that some of them, at least, are probably just paranoia. But if it's made the status of, if it's reached the tier throughout a culture, and especially throughout time and history, and it has been preserved and has become and reached the status, right, of superstition, it's probably because it's something that has been experienced, by more than one person, and it's been experienced several times. There's like a pattern, okay? And this is the whole cause and effect thing, where people kind of just draw the conclusion, which is logical. Well, this happened and then this resulted. Okay, and so what you wind up having is a superstition. We ought to look into that word one day. I love word study. I think I already said that. But I don't know, clearly, if this is true or not, as far as, children born this way being a seer. But what I want to pull from this for the message for us today is that, these children were in the water, okay, of the sack, right, for an extended time. And, this is the whole cause and effect thing, where people kind of just draw the conclusion, which is logical. Well, this happened and then this resulted. Okay, and so what you wind up having is a superstition. You know, clearly, if this is true or not, as far as, children born this way being a seer. But what I want to pull from this for the message for us today is that, these children were in the water, okay, of the sack, right, for an extended time. the waters did not break, and so they were in that state for an extended period. And as far as our second birth, where we are given the eyes to see, we essentially become a seer in that way. We become consciously aware of things that we were previously in the dark about, okay? When we're in this kind of water for some time, distress and danger, and, to me, it's goes back to this meaning I just read to you all here in the Vine's Dictionary on Water, Mayhem. This is where you get into that transitory meaning. We're being prepared for the second birth, to be given the eyes to see. And that's what happens. And what happens is when you realize, oh, well, no wonder I've been so disoriented because I can't see the light because, I don't know what's up and what's down. Let me consciously make the choice to get into the light, right? But you're forever changed. And so it serves a purpose. And that's ultimately what I'm getting at. And I know that if you've been through some stuff and you have gone through these changes personally, I don't even have to tell you this. You know this. If you're in the middle of this and you're confused, remember that God says in the Bible, He is not the author of confusion. So that tells you something right there. Okay, take a look at the opposite. And I just want to encourage you that there is, in fact, light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, so I hope that this has been interesting. I hope that it got the wheels turning. And so I have this other book that I picked up. It was on sale, and it's called The Secrets of the Universe in 100 Symbols. Yeah, I really do flip through these before I buy them. And it's cool. It's all in color, and it's great quality, and it's just very simplified. It's got, here, the American Indian animal spirits, and it just gives a little blurb, and there's a whole section on different kind of birds, and just all kind of symbolism, and then it details out all kind of things. And so we'll kind of use different aspects of this book as well as starting points for just interesting things to research together in the future. So I hope you'll join me. So I hope you enjoy the message. Thank you so much for coming along to hear it. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.